Welcome everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order for the May 22nd Crestline Neighborhood Association meeting. Welcome everybody. There's a sign-in sheet that everyone needs to fill out. Do we have a sign-in sheet? Yep, it's back here. Do I have a motion for the approval of the agenda? Who made the motion? Everyone, tonight we're going to try to do things a little differently, just to try to keep it a little more orderly. If you don't mind standing up and speaking whenever you're making a motion or making a comment tonight. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting?
Motion to accept the meeting?
Yep.
Second, April Marie.
Thank y'all. We have a special order for the agenda tonight, but our first guy is not here. So I'm going to go straight to number 2, which is my good friend, David Seal, principal of Avondale Elementary, who's come to speak to us tonight. David's been a friend of mine for about 35 years, and he is now the principal of Avondale Elementary. He's also the front man for the legendary rock band 3-hour tour. And he does a mean Mick Jagger imitation. So, David, will you come share with us everything that's going on with Avondale?
Do I use the...
If you could.
I promise not to sing. Although after that introduction, I think there's now an expectation. I want to start off by telling just a really short story. I got my job at Avondale Elementary in January of 2020, which was an awesome time to take over a school, as you can imagine. So I got the job and I was excited about it. And my brother, one of my brothers, Michael, he lived right here in Crestline Park. And I knew that Crestline Park was one of my neighborhoods, and so I called and said, hey, good news, I got the job. And he said, oh, that's great. And I said, what that means is that May, that's my niece, said, when she starts kindergarten in the fall, she'll be able to come to my school. And he didn't really say anything. He was like, And I said, you don't sound excited. Most people would be pretty fired up to, my child's principal is my brother. You could pretty much make sure that you get the teacher that you want if, your brother is in charge. And I said, what is it? He said, well, I got to be honest with you. I'm just not sure that Avondale is really the best place for May right now. I said, what are you talking about? I'm there, He said, well, I don't know. I think academically I just think you have some work to do, and I don't mean to be offensive. But I think we're going to send her to Highlands, and I think that's kind of the decision we've made. And, don't want to hurt your feelings. And I said, I'm not hurting my feelings. You always have to do what you feel is best for your child. And the fact is, he was correct. When I took over in January of 2020, I inherited a little bit of a mess, and I don't want to say anything bad about folks who are not here to defend themselves, i.e. my predecessors, but I was the fourth principal in about 18 months, actually in the summer of 2019, WBHM, the NPR station here, did an online story about the dysfunction between the school and the parents and the community. Not good. The school had a D on their report card, and that's not good. No offense to anyone like me who was just glad to get a D in physics when you're in high school and skate out of there with a passing grade, but that's not what you want on a state report card. And we just weren't in a good place. And, we're right there in Forest Park, and a lot of those families who literally live across the street were not sending their kids to my school. I mean, there's literally a family where there's a sign that says, my child's a proud, whatever grade at Highlands. And I'm like, your free public school is literally 20 feet from your yard. And it wasn't in a place where we were competitive. And we do have to compete. I mean, unlike other Birmingham city schools, we compete with private schools and magnet school, and we in the charter school I3 that opened up, and so we knew that we had a lot of work to do. And so I've been there over 5 years now, and to tell you where we are, we're still waiting for some of the scores to come back, but there's absolutely no reason for me to think that we won't have a B on our report card. A B is nice. A B is nice. A is better. That's what we're aiming towards. Because we're a Title I school, we have parents take a survey twice a year to tell us how we're doing, and 99% of parents in the most recent survey said that they feel welcome in their child's school. And 99% said that when they reach out to their child's teacher, the teacher expresses genuine concern over their communication. And our PTA has grown into because when I got there, really it was just to be honest, just a handful of parents doing some cookie sales, some fundraising. That was about it, And today we had field day, which I could take or leave. Field day, to me, it's just a day we're not learning. Dress up days. I'm an awful Grinch when it comes to stuff like that. And I have to be told all the time, David, that's part of the elementary culture. PTA does all of that. They organize it, and the kids have a blast. And I had 24 volunteers before 8 o'clock this morning. And it is just a very different place. And in Birmingham City, across the state of Alabama, third graders, when they test in the spring, they're under the Literacy Act, which will determine, based on their score on this particular test, whether or not they can go on to fourth grade. And at Avon, 90% of our third graders are proficient in reading, and that's 12 points higher than the district average. And in Birmingham City, they like to rank us so that we feel like we're competing against each other, even though we're all on the same team. And 3 years ago, we were 22nd out of all the 28 schools that have a third grade, and this year we're 4th. So, and a large majority of my staff, we've been together since I got there, and we've been through a lot. We had some cleaning up to do, and of course the pandemic, and some of us who are old dogs trying to figure out this new thing called Zoom, and the 22-year-old just got hired, just finished college, teachers teaching us how to do it, and us all figuring out how to do stuff together and learning from each other and creating a school that I truly believe is a place where kids can excel. And I know that there's a mountain that separates Crestline Park from Avondale, and it's more than just geographic. It's symbolic as well, because I don't think I have any children from Crestline Park at Avondale. We serve 10 of the 99 neighborhoods in the city of Birmingham, and I don't think we have any kids from Crestline Park. But at the same time, when I first got there, Forest Park was the same way. And so we had to figure out, what is it that's not making you want to, you pass by the school every day, or you can walk to what is it that's not? And so we sent out surveys. We found some things, and some of the things we found is we just needed to demystify the school, because no one really knew what the heck went on at Avondale Elementary School? We weren't an option. We weren't a thought. We weren't a consideration. And now we are. Now we are. And other things that we'd like to brag a little bit about our PTA also. A couple years ago we began some after-school clubs, and so they fund all sorts of opportunities for everything from chess to music to dance to comic book writing to yoga, all sorts of things. And the marquee outside the school, it says there's a place for everyone at Avondale, and it's something that we truly believe. And it's not just because it's one of those old marquees where you have to move the letters.
That's not the only reason why. That's not the only reason why I haven't changed that sign in a year and a half. It's because it's something that is very dear to all of us. In fact, it was a parent who suggested that slogan because her kids didn't always feel like they fit in everywhere else, but they do at Avondale. And we're unlike any other Birmingham City school with our diversity and not just racial diversity, but socioeconomic and religious, and it's reflected in our staff and reflected in our PTA, and when Todd said, "Hey, you want to come talk to the neighborhood association?" I was like, "I would love to, because this is how you demystify that." And I don't know how many of you have school-age kids, but you know folks who do, and when they are talking about where they're going to send their kids, tell them to send me an email and come take a tour. I give a lot of those now. I used to not, but especially January, February, when families are trying to figure out where we're going to go for kindergarten, and those deadlines for lots of other schools start creeping up. I give about 2 tours a week, and I give them myself, and I don't tell my staff that I have anybody coming for a tour, because I don't want a dog and pony. I don't want a show. I show parents the classroom. We walk right in. This is what the kindergartners are doing right now, and it's gotten to where now those Forest Park families, those South Avondale families, Crestwood South, Crestwood North, Highland Park, those young families, those kids are coming, and now we're seeing the younger siblings of those kids coming, and it's just like I said, it's. I do have a stressful job. I'm standing up here now, and you're like, God, it must be like, unicorns every day, But I can tell you this: it's not my kids or my staff or that beautiful 100-year-old building or any of that. Those are the things that really make it a special and joyous place. So, does anybody have any questions about Avondale? I know that there's lots of things on the agenda, and I don't want to get in the way of that, but if you have any yes.
So those are my 3 back there.
Okay.
Also Highlands. One of the concerns I had was infrastructure. We would hear the AC would go out. We would hear the building needed maintenance. Concerns like that. Have y'all, in addition to getting the academics turned around, have you been able to, and obviously you've been there now, so the turnover's changed a lot. My concerns were turnover, administration and teacher turnover.
Yeah.
The safety and the maintenance of the building.
Yeah.
And then obviously the academics you seem to have done.
Yeah. So when we sent out a survey to Forest Park, those were the exact same concerns, and they said they had a difficult time with trusting the school, because they didn't necessarily trust Birmingham City Schools as just an entity, but also because of the turnover in administration. They were like, I'm going to send my child there, and then somebody else will be in the principal's chair in 9 months. So that stability is there. It is. I mean, it's along with the charm of a 100-year-old building. There are some of those things, but every now and then we'll have a room that's stuffy, and within an hour and a half, somebody from maintenance comes over and does something, and it's fine. The safety of the building too. There are only 2 doors that you can. I reach for my imaginary badge because I wear that thing all the time. That's how I get in. There are 2 doors where I can use my badge and get in. Everything else is locked from the outside, and we have a security bubble in the lobby even when you're buzzed in. And we have an SRO, which he's got maybe the easiest gig in the district, but we have those safety measures in place too, just to make sure, because you don't know. And so from a maintenance safety perspective, we're in great shape, but also from a child safety perspective, we're just an incredibly safe school.
Could you explain what an SRO is to the people that...
Yes, a school resource officer. Yes, education is the worst about speaking in alphabets. Yes, a school resource officer. So it's not a Birmingham City police officer, it's a security company that the district contracts with. And so Officer Powell is our guy.
Anybody else?
Yes.
How many students do you have there, and what's your capacity?
We have, if you include our pre-K program, we have 330 students, pre-K through 5. We've got a handful of empty classrooms. The closing of Southtown, the summer of 21, I lost about 100 kids that summer because they relocated everyone during the pandemic. But we were all remote, so it didn't matter where you lived. You just Zoom. I had to substitute for a Zoom kindergarten class. Oh my gosh, like herding cats. It was awful. But then in summer of 21, when it was known that we were all coming back to school, those families were in Centerpoint or Gate City or Roebuck and West End, and so we lost a lot of. And I lost 8 teaching units that year. So we're still building back from that. When I got there, we had about 450 kids. I-3, when it opened, as soon as it opened, I lost about 40 kids to I-3. Not bitter. There's nothing wrong with some competition. And then with Southtown, we went from, like I said, 450 to a little over 300 in a very short period of time. Other questions?
Thanks, David.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. And, if you go to our webpage, there's a little little drop-down menu. My email address is right there. If you ever have questions, if you know someone who has questions, some parents with about to be school-age kids, just please tell them, email me. That's the best way to reach me. I'm kind of a moving target during the day when it comes to phone, but email, I can always do that. And if anybody from the community, I've actually had people who, I went here back in the 19 whatevers, I would love to see the school, and I take them around and I show them the school. And so at any point, if anybody wants to come see what we've got going on, then everybody is welcome. So as long as you check in at the office first. All right, appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, guys, next we've got Hunter Williams, our D2 representative with the City Council, coming to give us a update on the budget proposal and some other things.
Sure. Quick, since Hunter is one of my former students, do I get to introduce him?
I love that. So David was my high school English teacher, so whatever I don't respond to grammatically correct on email, he is the one that is at fault on that. No, I get a lot of comments of parents that have made what they say is the experiment and sent their kids to Avondale since David has been there, and they're all very positive. So he has done an awesome job with what he came into a real challenge, I think is the nicest way to put that. The mayor presented the budget to the city council this past Tuesday per the Mayor Council Act. The budget is roughly the same budget as last year. It had a little bit of an increase, probably a little bit under $9 million. What I asked the mayor to put in the budget is in the budget. For the most part, that is a fully funding Birmingham Police Department. Birmingham Police Department has gone through different iterations of its levels of funding. This is the highest level of funding that the Birmingham Police Department has had in the history of BPD if this proposed budget passes. That is important because we struggle to keep officers, have officers, fill out beats. Another thing that I wanted that is in this budget is $1 million for new Birmingham police vehicles, as well as new fire rescue units. We've been operating off very old fire rescue units. That's in the weeds, and people don't think about that. But when we have 16 ambulances and half of them are maybe broken at any given time, you could have a tornado or major car accident that ties up your paramedic fleet. That is not good for public safety. The police car issue is delaying response times, especially in our district and in our area. What's happening is they're running off a hot seat program, which means that the officer will be out in the field, the new shift will start. That new officer that's starting the new shift will be sitting at the precinct, waiting on whoever's working, whatever rec or whatever else to get there. That means all those calls in 220, which is this beat, sit there and hold for an hour or 2 hours. And it gets backed up until that officer gets around to it, or they can get units to respond from other beats. So that was very important that they had that. We were also able to get funding for street resurfacing at $15 million. We're finally phasing out of what they called the 5-year resurfacing plan, which William Bell announced when he was running for mayor against our current mayor. So we've been on this 5-year plan for 7 years now. And what we did is we took a consulting firm that rated every single street in the city of Birmingham. They have specialized equipment that has cameras and lasers and radars and all that kind of stuff that measures the thickness and the actual integrity of the road. So from now on, instead of the 5-year plan that was somewhat political, that where the mayor just chose the streets that were to be resurfaced, they're going to be resurfaced in order from that list that Birmingham Department of Transportation has. $15 million is the largest amount that we've ever funded street resurfacing, and we have got to keep funding at that level to dig out of the hole of not having dedicated funding in the general fund for 30 years prior to 2017. The Haygood drainage project starts this week. I was on Haygood today and I did not see anybody out there, but I was told it started, so we will see if that starts or not. The Shades Creek project is happening. I know we have people in this room that do not want it to happen, and I understand that, but it is happening, it is funded, and it will go forward. I know that an attorney has been hired that has been in contact with the city, so any questions about Shades Creek can go to the city attorney's office. The Crestwood sidewalk connection project that is going over by Trinity is now complete, but it will continue down to 56, so you can walk all the way to Woodlawn if you're very adventurous and have a really good stamina in the heat, or you can go to the Forest Park sidewalk system now with that connection that will go by the former Trinity Hospital. Any questions? That's capital projects.
Yeah, I got a couple.
Yes, sir.
Our stop sign request for Gladstone and Hoadley, can we push traffic on that? It's a very dangerous intersection.
If it makes sense for BDOT. If it makes sense for BDOT, for Birmingham Department of Transportation. Now,
What if it makes sense for us?
Yeah, I mean,
okay, well, listen.
But not them.
Yeah, so, yeah, I can push, I can ask, I always do, but there gets to be a point where, BDOT has gotten overwhelmed with the request of, now people want traffic lights along Haygood and Hoadley, Now people want traffic lights at every intersection on Montevallo. There's gotten to be a point where all of the requests don't make sense. And so now the traffic engineer is saying, okay,
We're trying to work on a more consolidated overall plan.
I understand that. But after this meeting, we'll get, 6 individual emails.
But
But
clearly, if
specific-
all of these people are saying we need this, whether it's traffic lights or stop signs, and we're bombarding them, it's because we need something. I mean, the people that are flying down Hoadley and Gladstone, I mean, it's ridiculous. I live on the corner of Gladstone and Strathmore, and I mean, it is so dangerous. And on Hoadley,
And we know that the cops are
There's-
too busy to come and
yeah.
get
I mean, we've
speeders.
seen, Todd and I both have seen like 2 or 3 wrecks right there. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure the East Precinct can give us the data on it. The most dangerous thing right now is that the cycle at the Montclair Haygood traffic light in the morning is like 5 minutes long, and
Okay.
people are running it because they're not willing to wait.
And there were lots of requests on three.
Yeah, and it's like
Yeah, so
overwhelming
what
number.
would be helpful for me is if y'all send me or India, preferably me and India, the 311 request. Those don't go to us; those go to the mayor's office, and so we don't have any visibility of it unless someone sends it to us. And so when people email us about something to advocate for, we're all about it, because quite frankly, I think very in a different way of most people at City Hall. And so I think that if y'all take the time to email or call and let us know that you put in a 311 request, we're more than happy to do that.
Would it be helpful to take a screenshot of the 311 request and email it to you, or just to
As
tell
long as you have that
Case
number, that
number.
case number.
Case number.
But I mean, if the screenshot has the case number, that's fine too. But we're really just looking for the case number itself.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
On the 311 requests, if you submit them, you can actually sign up for an email to get a receipt of what anyone submits. And then when that house burned down on Royal, it was left crispy for like 9 months. So I called and finally made a complaint with the city. And I asked her, and she said that there was like a backlog of like 7 or 8 requests, and then within the month it was gone. And torn down. So the more people where you make a poignant request and they have a roster of, okay, so 15 people submitted this, the more clout that we'll have to get whatever the issue is resolved. But I think that's kind of what Hunter is saying, is that once we have a document, they can go advocate to the city for us. But if we just don't have as many people, it's almost kind of like a petition. There's an app on your phone that you can download, take a picture of it, and then you just file the issue and prove it back.
so are those different than the requests that you said that they're getting for stop signs and
Yeah,
stop
those-
lights?
Yeah, those are one-off emails that are being so those requests are one-off. So there's gotten to be a dialogue between, when we get one stop sign in, then we come up with our own traffic engineering plan where we're getting GIS maps of every intersection that we can possibly put a stop sign where it does not make sense. I promise you, I understand what you're saying, but if you see the maps that we're getting sent, you would be like, what the hell is the city spending my money on?
Would it make sense to send those to the neighborhood association so they can work with us instead of going straight to you with those crazy requests?
If you want to take that
We'll
on,
be your
buddy,
buffer.
there gets to be if you want to. It is my job. I signed up for this, so it's not. I'm not going to put that onus on you. So, but I wouldn't do that. You don't want that.
Well, we definitely want to work together with as many
Yeah.
people who have issues and address them all. I've got one more if anybody else doesn't. Anybody else?
I just have a quick question. Haley, what's the calendar schedule for the budget? Is it a fiscal schedule or is it January to January?
No, we do. So we go through June. So the new budget would start July 1 if it's passed on time. I was just given the budget on Tuesday, but after I saw the devil's in the details, but I could see this budget passing on time for sure. If it doesn't pass on time, it reverts to the old budget, but from from a visibility standpoint of the taxpayer, there's not a lot of difference between last year's budget and this year's budget. There's a roughly $9 million increase, and it's going to things that I asked for, so I'm good with it. What do you mean by that?
For on time for the budget approval, does it need to be approved by like June 30th for July 1 fiscal year start?
Yeah, but you know, like I said, we have in the past not had a budget approved on time, specifically in election year 2017, 2018. They wanted to wait and get William Bell was pushing to get his budget through because the council gets in at a different time than the mayor, and so he pushed real hard. It didn't get through. So there was a 6-month period with the old budget, and city services continue just at the budgeted level the previous year. But there is no capital, like when I say we need ambulances and police cars and things like that, right now the turnaround for those items are from 6 months to a year because of the backlog of getting that equipment and vehicles. So, it matters when, and we need trash truck, we have capital needs because we have not done anything for so long that we need to invest that every single year and not invest it in all the other stuff we spend on.
I have more of a comment slash I guess back to the question. Is the zoo got cut by almost half? Birmingham Zoo did. Do you know why, or could you look into why, and if there's a way to refund put some of that money back?
I don't know if that's true or not. I actually had a call with the zoo director this week, and he didn't mention that. He mentioned having a tax rebate program where we return the sales tax to the zoo.
Okay. The budget item, just looking at the 3, where it's like, because I went through the whole 207-page document, which is a lot of fun. It was the budget for the year before, the budget that we're currently in, and next year, and it was almost a $500,000 cut. So just
I'll look into it.
I'll email it
Yeah,
and see if there's. I just want to make sure.
I'll get with Chris on that too, because Chris and I were the same. Who's the director of the zoo? The zoo is one of the most visited properties in the state of Alabama for tourism. For battling with, for a while it was the Huntsville Rocket Center, which is crazy that property gains that much visitation.
How much of their budget is from people who are just paying to get into the park versus city Birmingham?
I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that the zoo has their 501c3 contributes a great deal to the success of the zoo.
And there's one in the back.
Yes, ma'am.
The trail is going through, we heard all that. Do we have a timeline? Because all we're looking at now is asphalt and large machinery sitting there in the yard. So what can we expect all that to be made?
Yeah, so due to, I'm trying to think of a way that I can say this without, since we do have an attorney, I'll just say, there's some properties we've been trying to acquire. Some people have bought those properties during the eminent domain process. So that means that we will either have to go directly against people's back door because they chose to buy that during the eminent domain process to try to stop us. However, we have city property to do the entire trail. We don't have to do eminent domain. I asked our legal department to do it to make it easier on those where it was closer to their back door. But now that we have this back and forth that might end up in court, that's slowing us down considerably. I was hoping we would be done in 6 months. Now, due to this eminent domain back and forth, I'm not counting on that.
So we're just gonna leave those big machines?
How long are we gonna fight this out? I don't know. Yes, ma'am.
If a trail has to go through, there is another way that it could be done where you didn't have to go up to the back doors of people who live there. There is a place where it comes down and then comes between my house and the house next door, comes out to the street. It has continually been compared to Robert
Could you speak a little bit louder?
It is a proposal that they could come out and go in front of the houses that are most greatly affected, which I have talked to at least one other, and they are in favor of that. And it could go all the way down to Monarch and then go back in and go back on the trail. I think that would be a much more gracious way of doing it for the city of Birmingham than they have granted everyone else their backyard. And there was, at the first meeting, they did say they would not go into the backyards because that's where it was. So that possibility would allow the trail to be built, but it would also allow everyone to be able to keep their backyard as is. And I personally don't see why a sidewalk would not be a good choice for that area.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir, Don.
How are you? Are you gonna run for re-election?
I am. Anybody else?
Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys, the reason we are all here. Mr. Ricky Brooks from St. Peter's Church is here to give us a presentation about their new plans.
We'd like for our pastor, Brian White, to kind of start off and give a little bit of an introduction of us, of the congregation, and I'll talk about the city.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I almost said, praise the Lord, like I was somewhere on a Sunday morning, pardon me. Y'all, it's so great to see you. Thank you so much for letting us be here tonight. I am Brian White. I'm the senior pastor of St. Peter's Anglican Church, and it's a pleasure to be here. Jacob, the senior pastor of Hope, is a good friend, and we're thankful to him and his team. We're thankful to you, Todd, for allowing us to be here tonight, and I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I know, does anyone else feel like May is just the craziest month of the year? It is nuts. If you've got kids, it's especially nuts. We've got a kindergartner at home tonight. It's his last night of last day of school tomorrow, and so thank you for making the sacrifice to be here. Just a quick introduction to our church, and I'm going to be brief before Ricky can share more. If you haven't ever seen our current building, we are just a way down Montevallo Road. So if you go out the parking lot here and you go west on Montevallo, just under 3 miles, you're going to pass us on the left. We're a pointy kind of A-frame church. We're about just a little under a mile before you get to Mountain Brook Village. And on one hand, we really like where we are. Like, there's a lot of good reasons for being there. I mean, one of them is we've got great proximity just from a transportation standpoint near to 280. We actually have a diverse congregation with people that come from all over Birmingham. You know, Ricky's about to share after me for a few minutes, sharing more details. He lives miles down 280. We have people that come from all over. We love the location in terms of its accessibility. And it's on kind of this main thoroughfare in our community. We do have people that pass the sign and that go online and learn more about us. So it's a great location, and we've also got great relationships there with our neighbors. You know, we have with the community. We host a Boy Scout troop that meets there regularly. They had an event there last weekend. We've got 2 meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous that takes place during the week. One of them was at noon today, and that's run by someone that's not a member of our church. Almost everyone that comes to those 2 meetings during the week are not parts of our church. And then we've also got really great relationships with our immediate neighbors. I don't know what the deal is, but somehow Google Maps sends Amazon delivery people that should be taking things to our neighbor's house to our church. And so we've had a great time getting to know our neighbors as we reallocate the things that have been ordered. And just one example of this, and there's a picture of this in our Instagram feed. I pulled up to the church at 6:30 3 weeks ago in the morning, and there are a bunch of little yard signs. You ever pass someone's house when they got all the flamingos up for someone's birthday or something like that? There's these yard signs of little cartoon dinosaurs. And then there's a big sandwich board. And it says, "Happy 4th birthday, Francis. You're dynamite." Well, they got two things right. It was Francis's birthday, and y'all, Francis is dynamite. What they didn't get right is Francis doesn't live inside St. Peter's. Francis lives in the house that butts up to the back of us on Canterbury, right next door. And poor thing, I saw her mom pull the Suburban around the corner and got her daughter out just to see the dinosaurs that the mother's father-in-law had ordered to their surprise. But by lunchtime, the company had wisely relocated them. So we love it there. Here's the problem we've been facing for the last couple of years. We're growing, and we continue to grow. Yes, we're very thankful for that. And just for some perspective with this, y'all, we're not a big church. If you were to come on a Sunday, you'd see this time of year we have roughly 180, maybe 200 people on a Sunday. That can depend a lot on what was going on last night over in Tuscaloosa or down in Auburn, but that's about our general size. Our worship space can fit those people, can fit just a little bit more than that. Our parking lot really can't fit where we are at right now. So even with that amount of people, we have just over 90 spaces. We can't fit everybody. We bought a shuttle. We bought a little red shuttle. We're one of those churches that has a little bus. And we're shuttling the people from off-site to just try to be able to give, especially visitors and people with mobility issues and families, a way to get on-site more easily. So the parking lot's full. The building is almost full. And so for a while now, our leadership, and we have several leaders at this table in the back here, our leadership's been looking at each other. And then ultimately, obviously we believe in God. We believe he hears our prayers, the prayers of his people. We've been praying, what do you want us to do, God? We've explored every possible option on this current site, and we're not aware of any of them. And then it was to our surprise to learn about this particular property. As you know, far better than I do, at the corner of Haygood and Dunstan, which was very intriguing. And that's why for some time, with the help of some engineers and an architect, we've been trying to figure out what just might be possible in this particular place, should that be where we ultimately go. And so that's where we find ourselves in this moment as a church family. What I want to do now is I want to bring up Ricky, who's one of our members. He's the one who's been leading us, our leadership team, in this process. And he's going to take a couple more minutes to share details about why this property is so appealing and what we might think is possible. So Ricky, here's your pointer. And I'm going to do my best. We had some technology issues here, but we've got some slides that I'm going to attempt to show.
Good evening. I want to thank you also for allowing us on real short notice to come and make a presentation and talk to you. We are very excited about this, the possibility of being your neighbor, and this process that we started looking at and investigating began 2 years ago, with us looking in a criteria much to be within 5 to 10 minutes of where we were. That's very limited, but we have looked at a number of options within a 5 to 10 mile radius, and when we discovered that this site was in existence, not for sale, but in existence, we really started pursuing it, and we were very fortunate to be able to put the site under contract. But to kind of add to what Brian was saying that he will not say is, 6 or 7 years ago when we called Brian, we were a church of about 150 to 160 people, and my wife and I would show up, and Donna Reed's in the back there, she's on the vestry, one of our members. We'd go, if we keep going the direction we're going, we're going to be the young people here. And so, that was a real probability. And then we called Brian, and Brian has added new staff. He's the old guy in the organization of 6 years, and he's done a phenomenal job along with the rest of the assistant pastor, the rest of the staff. So we are growing. We're a very friendly church. We want to be together. We want to be at one service. So to some extent, this is a real step of faith because we've been pursuing this for 2 years and we genuinely believe this is what the Lord would have us to do. So without any further explanation on why, we want to show you what we have developed and what we would like to put in the neighborhood. And we're going to make a request. So be thinking about this as we start. We certainly, the property is zoned R3, which allows for a church. So we can build a church. One of the things that we're going to show you and point out to you is the current regulations in the church don't allow front yard parking. And there was some issue if it even applied to us, but the city thinks it does. Being on the corner lot, it requires us to do some strange things with the parking. So we're going to ask you to consider supporting a variance toward the parking, but we'll show you both what we're proposing and what it would look like if we have to go a different route. We'll show you several renderings. This is obviously an aerial or semi-aerial from the corner. Sanctuary to the first is to the front, facing Dunstan. It's I think a 505-seat sanctuary. On the left-hand side, I think there's a small chapel for small weddings and other gatherings. Behind it, a new all nursery and youth on the side over here, and in between a playground that's protected that can be secure. Administrative wing on the other side. Main entrance here, you can see obviously Haygood and Dunstan. Brian, show us the next one. Here's just more of a street view from Dunstan. This would be our main entrance as it's built. It's 29,000 square feet total building size. And by the way, we will make this available to you. This is one of the things that Todd and I talked about. What we're showing tonight, we'll make available to you. I see somebody taking shots, but we'll give it to you, okay? This is from the rear of the building. This would be from Mr. Bailey's view. This is the rear of the building in the parking lot on the north end. Here is a prayer garden that we've got planned here. And this would be a rear entrance that would walk straight into the narthex, and in front of that, of course, would be the sanctuary. Here is the site plan that we have presented to the city of Birmingham. This is the exact plan that we're asking for them to approve. There would not be any changes to this of any significant nature, if at all. There are 215 parking spaces. On the east side of the property, I think there are 3 entrances currently to the property. We would be shutting this one down that's here and go from this corner and this corner. There is that entranceway that I pointed out. Obviously the sanctuary is here, administrative wing, youth fellowship hall, chapel, and nursery up through, I guess, nursery through 5th grade space here, and a playground in between the 2 buildings that would be very sheltered. 215 parking spaces all the way around, and you can see that we are planning on sidewalks, heavily landscaped. This was and our engineering firm has an landscape architectural department, and this is what we're submitting to Birmingham. This will be our landscape plan as well. So you can see that we're heavily screened, so that we plan on being very attractive addition to the neighborhood. And then I'm gonna come back and open it up for questions. But Brian, let me show the next. This is what looks. Look, we could redesign the building. You've got a lot of space right here, but taking current building and eliminating, quote, front yard parking, which pushes the building to the south building line, reduces the space, reduces our parking spaces by 31 spaces, which is not conducive for anything. It's not conducive for beauty. It's not conducive for the people who show up a little bit later and are parking back here and walking a country mile to the back door. So what we would like, and we'll, again, we're gonna open this for questions, but what we'd like to do is, Brian, if you'll go back to the other site plan.
Sorry.
This is what we would like to ask, answer questions and like to solicit support of.
I have a question.
Okay.
Right around G, this is the approximate location of our large mature tree there. And it looks like this design does not incorporate that large existing mature tree.
Okay, where would it be, Todd?
Around G? Right around here. Is that about where the
It's a
big
willow,
tree is?
isn't
I think it's near
It's an oak
A.
tree.
You know, we can certainly look at that. We have not been on the property. We were trying to accomplish 2 or 3 things. Number one, we were trying to accomplish enough parking spaces to accommodate 500-seat auditorium sanctuary, and we're trying to do very extensive landscaping for the beauty of the project. We have not isolated and looked at the trees. If I don't know how much modification we could do, but we could certainly look at it.
Dad, what do you think?
Well, the 25-foot setback on my property line looks like it's gonna be some bushes and parking. Is that correct?
Well, what we had planned was a line of trees, and then there would be bushes and landscaping underneath the trees. And here are green islands that would be also landscaped with greenery.
Parking. With parking. Correct.
I'm sorry?
Parking.
Yeah,
Behind
this would be, these are parking spaces as designated, yes.
Within the 25-foot setback. So what does setback mean?
Setback is a building setback.
Okay. Has nothing to do with the parking.
No, sir.
About lighting.
Yeah, Tad asked me about lighting earlier. We would be, number one, addressing code, we would be addressed by code, but there are lighting that can be, I live in the Inverness neighborhood, as he said, I'm coming down 280, and there's office buildings close to us, and they all have this down lighting, which we would use to deflect it from being in anybody's face. So we would be very conscious of, we're in a neighborhood setting, we'd be very conscious of being there, and we would have the lighting that requires, that allows for safety, but it also pushes the light down and not out. Yes, ma'am.
Your plans for traffic flow on days when you have service and you're expecting 500 people.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Your plans for traffic control when you have 500 people coming in on any given day when you're having service.
Yeah, we don't, right now with the traffic that we have now coming out of we have 2 entrances and exits, but they're one way. We don't have any issue at this point. We would certainly address that, but we have not gotten to that specificity because we don't even have it now on Montevallo Road, which is obviously much busier. The only time that we would, even on a busy Sunday, the only time we would begin to generate what I think would be any area of congestion would be 20 minutes on Sunday morning at 11:30.
Yeah, but that's 20 minutes that you live there. And as far as comparing it to what you have now you only have space for 90 cars. Now you're talking about 200 plus cars.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. And I'm sure your building is assuming that you're gonna have 500 people.
You bet. Yeah,
during
we
this time.
we believe that we build it, they will come.
Prior to the wedding.
What happens when you go?
311. 311.
We will look forward to addressing that problem, but
Could you repeat the question? I would love to hear your questions.
What happens if you keep growing?
yeah, we certainly could keep growing, and maybe other property will become available, whatever. But we have not. This is a real stretch for us, and it's a real increase in size. One of the things that I talked to Todd about was, one of the issues that we hear about in the neighborhood is the parking and the lack of off-street parking in the commercial area. And we have to address this from a number of different angles, but liability and that type thing on us. But we also think that putting the parking in the front would help. We could offer some help to the neighboring businesses and allow some parking if we can address liability issues, which would alleviate some of the parking stress that you've got in your neighborhood now. So we felt like in some respects, the 215 spaces is not only to our benefit, but the benefit of the neighborhood.
You got an engineering firm with the drain plan for that?
Yes, we started there day one, and we have Shoal Engineering addressing the building. They're handling all the civil, and the city of Birmingham is very concerned about the water retention and drainage, and we'll be spending. We already know that we have money that we have to spend for underground retention so that we're not releasing water into a system that's already overburdened and overtaxed. So we're prepared to do whatever the city of Birmingham's engineers and our engineer require us to do in order to have the facility and not create more issues that are already there. The gentleman that spoke before us mentioned this 18-inch main that's going in. That may alleviate some of the problems, but whether it does or it doesn't, we will address our issues independently, and the city of Birmingham is going to require it, but we'll do that. Yes, sir.
Have y'all gotten the survey yet? And when are you gonna be getting one?
Yes, we have a survey.
Did they stake out anything along any of the property lines?
Not that I'm aware of. Yes, ma'am.
Where are you on the purchase and closing and all
We
that?
are, we're under contract, and we are scheduled to close at this point on June the 30th.
What happened to Silverstein?
It looks like he's selling the property.
Okay.
Good. Get rid of that dude.
Yeah.
I'd rather have the Lord around
No.
than for real.
Second.
I was just curious.
I'm down with him.
I was just curious. What kind of church is an Anglican church? What are your beliefs?
Good.
Sure.
That's what I
School,
do.
but not English.
No, great question. I mean, is yours a similar add-on to that? Because I want to answer that.
Just what's the lineage of your church?
Yeah. So we're just for people who can hear. Yes, sure. So for any of y'all, anyone else grew up in the Episcopal Church, is maybe have a connection to. Okay, so the Worldwide Anglican Communion is the body of people that identify the roots of their tradition, all going back to the Church of England, which was originally, remember, just England, and then when the British Empire spread around the world, the Church of England spread around the world. I don't know if y'all have ever visited Church of England or Anglican churches in other parts of the world, but I've been to Anglican churches in Africa. There are Anglican churches in Australia, in India. They're all over. Now, the traditional presence of the Anglican Church, or expression of the Anglican Church in the United States, has been the Episcopal Church, in which, again, that's what I grew up in. And about 15 years ago is when there was a number of people felt convicted to begin what they felt was a new expression, or an additional expression.
It's got a short.
Sorry about
Just gotta
that.
play with it.
That's why I put it up there, because I thought if I don't touch it, then it won't mess up. They felt as if, frankly, and this was hard, but they felt as if, broadly speaking, a lot of our leadership is not continuing to lead in terms of our beliefs and convictions in ways that are alignment with what the Anglican Church has traditionally believed since its inception. I'll get to that in 1 second. And so they began a new expression, and we would identify ourselves as being part of the worldwide global Anglican Communion. Any follow-up to that? I mean, I go through that in part of our membership class, so I talk about it at length, and it's kind of not fair for me to try to.
It's like an all-inclusive type church,
I would certainly think of ourselves as inclusive. In other words, I think, and I would say, frankly, I know you probably aren't going to do this, but come on a Sunday. Because I think you will see, I really mean this, that's not me trying to pitch anyone. You'll see a breadth of diversity, and I think you'll sense a warmth, welcoming, inviting. Everyone, as the senior pastor, I always say to people, what was your experience like coming? Shoot me straight. And they will say, people were so warm and so friendly. And I'm fine sharing that because I don't take credit for it. That's just our church family. So there's a unique, one of the challenges that we're facing with our growth is there's this unique familial sweetness and intimacy about our community that we know that becomes more complex as we grow together. But I'm obviously biased, but we consider it a really special place. And especially, one more thing, and then I'll get to your question. It's also an intergenerational community. And so that's one of the things that we love about it is, on one hand, that first picture has my wife's grandfather in it. He's 91. And then right now, our nursery is almost full. We had more babies born last year than we've ever had in the church. And so we feel like there's, again, this particular and unique dynamism and charism about being just such a broad body of people. Yes, the question in the back.
How is your beliefs different from Episcopal?
That is a great question, and it depends on how much time. No. I was just going to say it depends on how much time we have tonight.
2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Can you repeat the question?
I'll get, if I can get the microphone working, I'll try my best. How about now? Okay, great. Okay, let's see, how can I summarize that in 10%, in 10 seconds? What I would say is, and you will get different answers from different people on this question. I have, let me first say, great friends that remain in the Episcopal Church. The reason that I went into ordained ministry is because a gentleman from the Cathedral Church of the Advent that had moved to Charlottesville, Virginia, where I was in college, encouraged me in ordained ministry. And I preached there before years ago. I have a great appreciation for the history of that particular church and other Episcopal churches. What I would say is, like other traditions, we have felt that the ultimate question has been how we relate to the nature of the Bible. And this question is, what is the Bible? Ultimately, is it a document that maybe has some helpful ideas or some ideas that may have been inspired in some way a long time ago by God? Or do we believe, and this is what we hold, and I recognize not all people would agree with this, but we ultimately believe that it was something that was inspired by God. And what we seek to do is put ourselves under it and seek to live under the authority of it. And that means not just in areas that many of us would probably consider more well-known or controversial, but in every area of our lives. And so, again, that's something I talk about in our membership class, and I would love to go into more detail. And I'm happy to hang around. I sincerely mean this. I'm happy to hang around with anyone that wants to talk about that afterwards. Or if any of y'all want to get coffee with me and talk about that, I would love that. I'm leaving June 3rd for a month. I have a mini sabbatical, and I lived in England for 2 years, and my family's going to go there for a month. But I really mean that. I would love to sit down and get to talk about that. I just buried my grandmother last week, and she was at her Episcopal church in Virginia she was married in it. She had been there, I think, for 80 years. She died at 100. And so I have a great appreciation for that denomination. Anyone else? I know we kind of waded into the theology questions, but and I'm happy to continue those, but also I don't want anyone to feel. Yes, you had your hand in the back.
Is it safe to say, kind of like the principle from Avondale Elementary, that if some of the members of your church probably went to other Episcopalian churches in the area?
Yes, that would be true. That would be true. Yeah, great question. Yes, sir.
I want to get back to the different things. What variances do you need to be able to buy this property?
Unless we redesign this building so that, Brian, push, if you would, show the other side.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Unless we redesign the building, which we could, we haven't, we're in hopes that, because it doesn't make sense to do it, but we could. We need a variance to park in the quote front yard. And anything that's in the front yard, as we understand it, is anything that's running contiguous with the street. And we have two front yards, obviously, because we're on a corner. So here, the building, without any changes or modifications to utilize this space more effectively, the building has been pushed, that we designed to be centered in the middle of the space, has been pushed forward just as it is, but that causes us to lose, I think it's 31 parking spaces, roughly 15% of the parking. And in this design, it would have everyone parking in the back and entering. We could get a permit to build this tomorrow. We don't want to do that. What we would like, the variance that we need is for quote front yard parking. So Brian, if you'll go back to that one slide again. So this is 184 spaces, and when we go back to the other, this is 215 spaces.
And when would you anticipate your beginning construction on that?
That's a good question. We have, we're able to close on the lot. We have a capital campaign to do, but we would anticipate in the first quarter of next year. Yes, sir.
You said, or somebody mentioned Boy Scouts meeting.
They do. They meet at our church currently.
That was a Boy Scout. Where is their entrance gonna be in this picture?
Well, we haven't thought that far, Mr. Bailey, but
All
I
right.
would
They
assume
don't
that-
currently have a separate entrance in
You
where
have
we are right now.
AA, same question, where's their entrance
Yeah.
gonna be? And also the, child care nursery, where is that gonna be situated in this picture?
the child care nursery is here. The covered porta-chet is here so that you can have drive-through in the event of inclement weather. And the families and children would walk into the hall immediately, and on their left, they sign in, and immediately to the left are classrooms that we can secure this entire area, along with the nursery and the classroom. The fellowship hall is here, and meeting rooms for the youth and college are here. Chapel is here. Entrances are here to the administrative wing over here, and then a back door for this parking here,
So where is the little playground or whatever?
right here. In between this wing of youth and this wing of the nursery and child education.
Do y'all have security when y'all are open?
We do.
On Sunday mornings, we have 2 police officers present. And then whenever we have the nursery open when there are 2 women's Bible studies during the week. And then also when we do a monthly parents' night out, so parents can get a break, drop off their kids. And so the nursery's open, and we have police officers then too.
Do you do any or plan to do any homeless outreach programs here?
We have not gotten that far.
We haven't talked about that. We don't currently have one, and we haven't talked about it.
Yes, ma'am.
For the variance that's needed for this plan, how would we go about getting that variance requested?
Can you, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing. Say
The
that again.
variance that's required,
How would we go about getting the variance under this plan?
Okay, so we've already filed for the variance. They will notify Todd. Todd will call a meeting or whatever, and you'll exercise a vote in favor or not in favor of the variance. And then the zoning board will take that into account as they're making the decision to grant it or not grant it.
So similar to what we did with Silverstein.
Yes, so what we're thinking right now is that we will have a special meeting in 2 weeks to vote on this proposal.
I don't think the variance has anything, has anything to do with whether they're gonna build it or not.
Yes.
The variance is totally a parking variance.
Yes.
Unlike Silverstein, we were voting to have the development or not.
And rezone.
Totally different, in my mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Now,
We're asking, but in a nutshell, the variance is simply asking that we be able to park right here. Instead of pushing the building to the front and putting all the parking in the rear.
Do you have to go before the subdivision committee to combine the 2 lots together?
That's been approved. We have to tear down one of the houses or the parsonage and the building, because we can't subdivide and put the 2 together until we do that. But that's been approved to do, provided we take those steps.
And would you guys be available, say in 1 week or so, if anybody wanted to meet?
Absolutely, we're available. We want to be, and we're available after this is over as well. I mean, one way or the other, variance approved or not approved, voted for or not voted for, we're available. If we continue going forward with this property, as Mr. Bailey said, and redesign the building and push it all to the front, put all the parking in the back, we'll still be available. I mean, we don't want to do that. We haven't even taken one step with the architects to do that. We don't want to do it. We think this makes a lot of sense, and as a neighbor, we can help alleviate the problems potentially of the lack of off-street parking that exists today with the commercial uses. Yes, ma'am.
I think the most marvelous part about this is gonna be where you're gonna get your stoplights. All this is gonna change direction. And like coming up Dunstan, everybody parks on the street. Some of these things, the traffic people will be needing to look at it and go, you know what, it's gonna either make sense till you park in your driveway, not on the street, or make some of these streets one way. I mean, it.
I don't think, it's gonna have as big an impact as you would think. And I don't know if a traffic light would be required.
But it would
Like
be,
they
it
said,
would
they're
help
on
your.
Mount Allen now, which is a heck of a lot busier road. And going to my dad's every Sunday, about the same time they let out. It's not that bad, really.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it would be wonderful to keep it the space as a house of God, and it is now, and especially to your point with the Silverstein community. I think this would be fabulous.
Thank you.
so much better. My question is, so we had your suggesting 215 parking spots. So one of the things that we love about that, and Todd mentioned the specific tree, but right around that G area, it's when you come to that corner, it's green and it's pretty and it almost looks like a park. It's a very welcoming area. Have y'all thought, like, give and take wise, is there a possibility you could give us a little bit more green?
Well, we have gone about 20 to 25% more green than we're required. We've already done that. We felt like that was necessary. We wanted to do that for the neighborhood and for our own church. We're significantly above and beyond already on the landscaping. We have not gone out there and located yet any trees and what we could save, and we would be all about it if we can possibly do it. I mean,
the tree they're talking about is now the logo for the neighborhood that you're talking about.
okay, so we can get on that immediately and have Shoal Engineering look at it immediately and see what we can do.
Yes, please.
And then along Haywood and Dunstan, where the property line is yellow, where those trees are, is underneath those trees going to be parking spots, or is that gonna be green space?
Right here,
Yes.
there's a sidewalk there, there's the curb, and there would be some green space in here, but yes, that would be parking right there. Yes.
Ma'am.
We're using Live Design Group, which is Craig Kraus. I can never. Krause. Craig's a member of your neighborhood.
Craig
I
could-
can't ever pronounce his
He
last
could throw a
name.
stone practically and hit this area.
We don't know that yet. We have 2 or 3 that we're considering, but we don't know that yet. We've selected the architect and the engineers, but that's it so far.
Is there anything else that you need from us in order to support this plan?
I don't think so. If you just vote that we can, that we can have front yard parking, we're good to go. Thank you.
Can I just come back to that question earlier, because it was an important question, the theology question. What I would say, and what I share in our membership series when I talk to people about this question is, look, for those of you in the room who are Christians and that you attend a church, when people come sit through our class, I say, when you go to a church, one of the things that you want to do very carefully is watch, listen, and ask questions. Because you really want to get a sense, what do these people believe? What are they about? Do I personally align with the things that this church teaches? And what I would say is, to go back to the question earlier about how we are distinct or may differ from the Episcopal Church, what I would say is, over time, there was a sense among some of us that we were increasingly in tension, particularly with the leaders, and that includes, frankly, in this tradition, bishops and others, regarding questions that we just consider at the very heart of our identity as Christians, and really being as simple as, who is Jesus Christ? What was his mission? What was the purpose of his death and resurrection? I'd say if you're a Christian and if you move somewhere from here and go somewhere else and you might join a church, ask those questions. And we felt like, the Anglican Church has been asking, and by Anglican I just mean, for hundreds of years. And if you look at our prayer book, for those of you who have a PCP, Anglicans have been answering these questions and with particular specificity for hundreds of years. And the answers that some are beginning to give just aren't in alignment with what Anglicans have historically believed. And so that's why there were some that felt like they had to make the very painful and hard decision to step away. And that includes people that had family members buried in graveyards, where they were 4th generation families of certain churches. And obviously a very delicate thing. I'm hesitant to take an environment like this where we have so many questions to touch on. It's such a delicate question that deserves more time. So again, I'd love to connect with any of you that have more questions about it. Anything else before? Again, we'll be around, and we would love to talk more, and we do want to make ourselves available separately.
What we're going to do is plan to schedule that meeting in 2 weeks, and if y'all want to, reach out, we'll set up a meeting to go over anything specifically. I know a couple things that I want to follow up on as well, so let's just get on the Facebook page and arrange a good date for it.
But he's leaving June 3rd, and guess what? I'm going to England on June 3rd too.
Are you going to Oxford?
Well, I'm going to talk about John Wesley, so I'm going on a
Well,
church trip.
Well, just a reminder for everyone, all the Methodists in the room, John Wesley died an Anglican. So hallelujah. Hallelujah. For the Presbyterians, Westminster Confession, mostly written by Anglicans, but that's another matter altogether.
Okay, so
Any chance you'll vote tonight?
No, not gonna happen tonight.
you may give our information out. We'll send you a copy of what we've presented so that you can disseminate it if you'd like to.
Okay.
And then we're available. You can give out my number, my email. I'll answer the liturgical questions next time.
And I'm
Yes, sir.
Can you include a copy of the variance request with
I don't even have a copy of it.
I
Our
think I
engineering
have a
firm,
copy of
but he will get a copy of it. He should get a copy of it with the form, and if not, ask me and I'll get our engineering firm to get it to you.
We'll get
And
that.
y'all, thank you.
Can
I'm,
excuse me,
Oh, you go ahead.
can you send Todd also a copy of the survey?
Sure. It's not been resurveyed into one lot. But it's gonna show,
Well, then you got two surveys then.
we've got two,
One for none,
we've
for
got
6,
two
7,
surveys, and we've got a survey that shows the lots put together how they will be. But right now, you've got two properties. It hasn't been resurveyed into one, but that can be done for sure, given the zoning is the same. But we have to take the steps of either removing the residence that's on the northern lot, or removing the parsonage and all the building, because, and I don't understand it, but the bottom line is in order to resurvey it into one, you can only have one house on it when we do the resurvey. But it can be done.
and I was just gonna add, my emails, so my name is, again, Brian White, it's with a Y rather than an I. So if you go to email me, it's just Brian W at St. Peter's, it's St. Peters, BHM.org, not BHAM, as some try to reach, but BHM.org. I'd love to talk. Thank you. Thank you very much, Todd.
All right, guys, this has been almost a little bit ahead of schedule from what I was thinking, and that's really good. And I am going to go through all the reports in about 10 seconds. There's nothing from police, nothing from fire, nothing from public works, nothing from ACE worthwhile, and we already heard from India. So the only thing to report is from CAB, the last meeting, which I've made 100 copies of my report and put it everywhere. It is outrageous, it is maddening what they're doing to us.
Could
but
you
I
talk a
can't get
little
into it
louder?
tonight.
Sorry. Can you talk a little louder? Sorry.
Yeah. What the city is trying to do now to make it even harder for us to get our own neighborhood funding is outrageous, it's unnecessary, and it violates the CPP, which the city seems to do over and over again, to the point where I don't think they believe that the CPP is anything more than symbolic. But since they do get their funding from HUD, they must stay within these regulations and guidelines. They're not doing it. So anyway, if y'all don't mind, take that home, read it. I'm going to post about it, and it's just frustrating. So I'm gonna
Thank you, Todd, for all you do.
Yeah.
We can do to help with that.
Possibly, but I think we'll probably have to just plan to go down there at some point and get rid of something. But that's all that I wanted to say, because I don't want to get angry and bitch about it at this point. So I'm wondering if Don has anything.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right.